She's always cool, calm, and collected. And you know what I used to say, Miss Knight, is that I loved watching her perform, but one of the best parts of watching her perform live was when she first comes onto the stage and she sits and then she does her sound check and she says, oh, you got to do this level this way, you got to do this, with this microphone isn't right, this is, and then, you know, and then you get it together, and when she starts, you're like, ah, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. She was picky, all right. Very picky. You know?
We all remember
Things
her.
had to be just so.
Yeah, we all remember her saying, you better think about what you're trying to do to me, especially when she's pushing a guy around in the Blues Brothers movie. She has these iconic songs where she's demanding respect as a woman, as a black woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I don't think she really understood the power of who she was and the music that she was doing. Because Aretha, to me, was kind of shy, so to speak. And I know people probably never have seen that side of her. But I got a chance to see her so much. And every time I got a chance to go see her, I went to see her. I remember she was playing the breakfast show in Atlantic City, and that was 4 a.m. in the morning. So Aretha came out, it wasn't 4 a.m., it wasn't 5 a.m., but she finally came out, she said, I'm sleepy. so we did crazy things like that, you know, always lifting up and supporting each other. We loved her to death.
We used to joke about her, because she loved her purse and it was never far, and that's where all the money was, because she wanted to be paid in cash. That purse was never out of her eye line. But, you know, we have been talking, right? She loved it. We have been talking about the impact of having these strong black women on the cover of magazines right now, about Beyonce, about Rihanna, Tracee Ellis Ross, and so on. But I want everybody to take a look at this. This is Aretha Franklin on the cover of Time magazine in 1968. That is a trailblazer, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. Definitely a trailblazer. And we were just so proud of her because, you know what, something about that spirit and something about that voice, you know, it was very difficult to what they called crossover in those days. You know, they wanted to keep us right in the R&B section, you know, because we were African American and those kind of things. You know, Aretha didn't care. She did her music, but her music had some magic to it because it just went and swept everybody. I don't care what color you were or where you lived or anything like that. And that's why she became the icon that she became, because she broke down those barriers, you know. And we all marched with Dr. King, you know, and that kind of thing. So we had that in common as well. And when we come together to get something done, it gets something done when we're all on the same page. And that's where we were with our music and with our performances and all of that. We used to sing for his campaigns when he was running for things and so forth and so on. And there we were, standing together, you know. And I just really respect that.
I didn't know it then, but now I'm so grateful that my parents would take me to concerts to see, when I was young, to see people like Aretha Franklin and Michael Jackson and Gladys Knight. I saw you at the Astrodome in the 1970s in Houston, Texas, while we were on vacation at Astro World.
Oh my God.
Yes, yes, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Thank you, Miss Knight.
Yeah, Gladys Knight and the Pips. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's been a wonderful journey.
You be well.
It's been my pleasure.
And we'll next time we talk, let's hope it's for something that's not sad, but I'm glad we're here to celebrate her life. Thank you.
I am too. Thank you for having me and allowing me this opportunity to say, well done, my sister. Safe journey home. And I know you're going to be in the heavenly choir, and I hope to join you when I come, if I make it.
Oh, you're going to make it. You'll make it in. But let's hope it won't be for a long, long time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I know. Thank you. Love you.
You as well. So I want to bring in now another of Aretha Franklin's dearest friends, and that is Smokey Robinson. He joins us now on the phone. How you doing, Smokey?
I'm cool, Don. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So you said this morning that Aretha Franklin was your longest friend. You grew up together. So
absolutely.
Talk to me about that.
She was my longest friend, man. You know, I've known Aretha since I was 8 years old. So, you know, and everybody else from our neighborhood, from our immediate, you know, clique, our immediate friends, and all the kids that we grew up with, they're all gone. You know, and she and I used to talk and say, "Oh, hey, we're the last two of the Mohicans," you know. And but you know, our father chose to call her, and so she had to go. So here we are.
Yeah. I want to play something for you. This is Aretha Franklin from a never-before-seen interview from an upcoming CNN original series. Take a look, and then we'll talk about it.
Our first neighborhood in Detroit was over on what's called the north end of Detroit. And we stayed right on the corner of Oakland, which was around the corner from my oldest and dearest friend, Smokey Robinson. We were sandbox friends. And I used to give them little tips before they became the Miracles.
That interview was done in September of last year, of 2017, Smokey. Talk to me about Aretha and the church in Detroit in the early days. When did you first hear her sing?
Oh, man, I first heard her sing the first day that I met them. Her brother, Cecil, was one of my aces. You know, we were together all the time as kids and as adults. And it was like the Franklin family was one of my other families, you know what I mean? And so when the first day I met Cecil, a guy lived next door to them named Richard Ross. And we all played together and so on, like we were kids. And like I said, I was 8 years old, and Richard comes around, and he's got this new guy with him who was Cecil. And they had just moved to Detroit from Buffalo, New York. And so we went around to see their new house, which was next door to Richard's house. And we went in, and we were in there, and see, Cecil, Aretha grew up on a street called Boston Boulevard in Detroit, and there were two streets in the hood, man. I mean, in the hood, okay? Boston Boulevard and Arden Park, and it was like they were so out of place because these two streets were right in the center of the hood, and they were plush, and they had mansions, and you know, everything was green and flowers and so on and so forth, right in the middle of the hood. So I lived on Belmont. Aretha lived on Boston Boulevard, which was one of these streets I'm telling you about. So anyway, we go to the house, and we're in there. And it's like a mansion. You know, it's like all this stuff is in there. We, growing up, did not have privy to seeing, because none of us had anything like that, you know. But Reverend C.O. Franklin was one of the most popular ministers in the country. So that's how they lived, but they didn't act that way.
Right.
They were just right down front, down people. You know, they didn't act hotsy-totsy or any of that like that. So we were all really good friends. So we go into the house, and we were walking around, and I hear a piano being played and somebody singing in a little voice from another room. Okay, so I, being curious about music always, all my life, I go to see what's happening. And I open this door, and here's little Aretha Franklin, about 5 or 6 years old, however she was, sitting at the piano, playing the piano, and singing damn near like she sings now. You know what I'm saying? So that was my first sight of her, my first introduction to her.
I wonder if you ever thought that you would be performing a duet with her, because you did on Soul Train back in 1979, singing one of your songs. So let's look at this.
I'm telling you, it's not too late.
I did you wrong.
Yeah.
My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a
Smokey. I mean, that moment between you and her when she said you should have been a duo. I mean, that's everything.
Well, you know, man, Aretha was my baby. You know what I mean? So we were just cool all of our lives, and we stayed in contact, and you know, we talked all the time, and up until she was no longer able to do that a few weeks ago, you know. Yeah. And you know, I'm gonna miss her, man. Like I said, Aretha was was my baby, my home girl. You know what I mean? And as far as our close friends in our neighborhood and so on, we were the last two.
You got a favorite Aretha song?
Pardon me?
You have a favorite Aretha song?
No, man.
All of them, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because Aretha could sing anything. I mean, anything from, as you saw on the Grammys at that, anything from, excuse me, opera to blues.
Right.
Everything in between, jazz, rock,
everything.
whatever it was. Aretha could sing the phone book, brother.
Yeah.
So
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good way to leave it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry for your loss. Okay.
Oh man, well, you know what? But I'm celebrating her life, man.
Absolutely.
You know, when we were kids growing up, man, all we used to talk about, all we used to, everybody in the neighborhood, man. We grew up in a neighborhood. Diana Ross lived 4 doors down the street from me. We lived right around the corner. The Four Tops lived 2 blocks over. The Temptations lived right across Woodward Avenue. We grew up in that neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we're all hoping to do this.
Yeah.
And some of us were, there's some people that I can't even name, some groups and people like that who could really, really, really sing, who didn't get that break, who didn't get that chance, you know. So we were all blessed. And we talk about our blessings all the time, how blessed we were to come out of that situation and become what we wanted to be, what we wanted our lives to be. So she had that, and she lived a good life, and I'm going to celebrate that.
Well, everyone you mentioned, including you and Aretha Franklin, brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. Thank you, Smokey.
Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you. When we come back, civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis says Aretha Franklin's music inspired everyone in the movement to keep the faith. I'm going to talk to him next.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Introducing E-Trade Personalized Investments. Professionally managed portfolios customized to help meet your financial goals. You'll know what you're invested in and how it's performing, so you can spend more time floating about on your inflatable swan.
Online dating? I know people meet that way, but where would I even begin?
Open laptop, go to OurTime.com, look for free. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the fastest growing dating site for people over 50.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Important announcement. Funeral costs are rising every year, and more families are shocked and unexpectedly burdened when a loved one dies. If you are a U.S. resident between the age of 40 and 85, now is the time to call about the Funeral Advantage Program. Through the Funeral Advantage Program, your family receives a life insurance cash benefit up to $20,000 in the event of your death. If you live in a qualifying state and you're between age 40 and 85, call the number on your screen now to request your Final Wishes organizer, free without obligation. Don't delay. When you call, we'll add this second important booklet absolutely free. The 9 Things Every Senior Needs to Know About Funerals puts the facts on funeral planning in plain language. If you're between 40 and 85 and you live in a qualifying state, call today.
You have no risk or obligation. Call the number on your screen now.
You better think about what you're saying. You better think about the consequences of your actions.
Oh, shut up, woman.
You better think about what you're trying to do to me, yeah. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go back, let's go back.
Congressman John Lewis, an icon of the civil rights movement, says that Aretha Franklin's music encouraged civil rights activists to be strong, to keep the faith, and to continue their struggle. And like all of us, he was a big fan. I talked to Congressman Lewis tonight, and I asked him what Aretha Franklin meant to America and to him personally.
I love Aretha. I love her music. I love what she stood for. She inspired generations of young people and people not so young to stand up, to speak up, and to speak out. She gave us hope. During the sit-ins, the freedom rides, the marches, I remember from time to time getting out of jail in Selma, Alabama, and we would go to a little club and put a quarter in a machine and listen to her music. And her music gave us hope in a time of trouble.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, because her father, Congressman, he was friends with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She performed and toured for Dr. King. And I just want to play this for you. It's a CNN exclusive. It's never before seen interview from an upcoming original series. And this is Aretha Franklin talking about Dr. King.
I certainly saw the beginning in what he was trying to do, bring people together and fighting for parity and to erase the discriminations and different things, and fighting for a number of things. Yes, he was a civil rights activist. He and my dad were friends, and my dad brought him to Detroit. There was a moment that well, my dad organized and funded the movement in 1963, the Walk to Freedom here in Detroit. When Dr. King walked into Cobo Hall, it sounded like the building was coming down, okay? I've never heard such a rumbling and a moment like that. Was a one moment in time, a historical moment. When he walked in Cobo Hall, it was thunderous. It was thunderous.
And Congressman, we have some pictures that we'll put up. It's from 1963 of Dr. King in Cobo Hall, where Aretha was referencing. Talk to me about her commitment to civil rights and social justice.
Aretha learned from her father, learned from Dr. King and others. She learned from the young people during the freedom rides, during the sit-ins and the marches. She's so right. Dr. King appeared at Cobo Hall and led this march through the streets of Detroit 2 months before the march on Washington. And some of the speech that he delivered on August 28, 1963, he had delivered part of that speech at Cobo Hall. I've been to that hall a few times, and he inspired the people there. And so hundreds and thousands of people who had heard him in Detroit made it to Washington. Her father was a strong supporter of Dr. King. And Aretha herself was a supporter of the movement. She raised money for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, for Dr. King and SCLC. And the last time I saw her with Dr. King was in Atlanta at the Hyatt Regency Hotel at a convention of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And she performed, and she kept singing. She wouldn't stop. And she got happy and just kept singing. And Dr. King asked one of his staff people to get Aretha to close down because we had to move on with the program.
Yeah.
And that was the last time that Dr. King saw her here in Atlanta, because the next year he was assassinated.
Well, that brings me to this, because let me put this up. This is what Bernice King posted on Twitter. It's a touching tribute. It's photos of Aretha with her parents. And I want to play this clip. This is from her performance at Dr. King's funeral. Watch.
Because when the wind and the wind down I found all we need is you, Jesus, to linger right there.
She also sang at Rosa Parks' funeral, Mahalia Jackson's funeral. Now it's our turn to pay our respects, isn't it?
We must pay respect to this wonderful, beautiful soul. She inspired generation, and I think her music will inspire generation yet unborn. She was so gifted. She could sing in so many different
Huh?